My name's Scott Johnson. I'm the president of J-Tech Incorporated. We're a Pennsylvania company located in Chester Springs, which is right off the turnpike at the Exton exit. We're a multi-divisional company that we're going to give you a little tour today of. We hope you find it to be interesting and informative. A little bit about J-Tech. We started 24 years ago in 1993. We currently have about 40 employees. We operate out of 3 facilities in Chester Springs, about 30,000 square feet of shop space on about 8 acres of property. We are a faith-based company, and we believe in fair and honest business practices as it relates not only to our customers but also to our vendors and employees. And we're proud of the 24 years that we've been able to grow our business, starting out in Malvern, PA with 2 employees, growing to where we are today, again with almost 40 employees. J-Tech has 3 divisions. We have a logistics division, and what that division does is hauls equipment for investor-owned utility companies in the tri-state area. We also have our valve division, which is our original division, where we rebuilt valves that are used in the tank truck industry. And then our 3rd division is our truck division, which is a division that we make, sell, and rent equipment that's used in the traffic safety industry, equipment that you would see on the turnpike or out on the road. As we walk through today, we're going to give you a little bit of information on each division, primarily focusing on the truck division here towards the end. I would welcome you to go to our website at jtechusa.com, and on that website you'll see more information about our company as well as videos that you may find interesting. So at this point we're going to walk out front and look at some of the equipment we use in the logistics division, and I'll give a little more background about that. In this division we haul surplus equipment for power companies in the tri-state area, and we take it from their locations to a central auction yard located in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Currently we haul equipment for Pennsylvania Power and Light, Con Edison out of New York City, Pepco, Med-Ed, First Energy, Exelon, all the major power companies in the tri-state area that you've heard of. And what happens is that equipment, when it reaches the end of its useful life, the utility companies get rid of it. And what they do is they send it to a central auction yard and it's auctioned off, and they do that about 4 times a year. So our guys go and pick the equipment up at the specific yards and then transport it to the auction yard. So some of the equipment we use is behind me. You'll see a brand new Peterbilt rollback that we just put in the service. To my right are a couple truck tractors. We use Landau trailers, lowboy trailers, car trailers. We haul about 1,000 pieces a year in this operation. Here we are, a Pennsylvania company. We haul for almost all the Pennsylvania power companies, and as well as we go out into the tri-state area. It's kind of a neat little niche thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize, but it is a big part of our business. We're able to employ some people with some good jobs, and it's been something we've been doing for about 15 years now. What you're looking at right now are some of the components that we rebuild in our valve shop. Our valve shop is our original division, the valve division. That's why I started J-Tech 23 years ago. And what we do in this division is we rebuild components that are used in tank trailers. So you might see a big tank trailer going down the road hauling, let's say, water. Now that trailer has different valves and vents on it. The valves are there to hold the product, to hold the water in the trailer. When it gets to its destination, the valve opens and the water goes out. Also, there's vents on top of the trailers that allow the liquid to move out of the trailer efficiently. I don't know if you can remember back in the days of a can opener, and you'd get a can of juice and you'd open it on each side of the can, so when you dumped it, it flowed out properly. That's sort of the same idea. The truck driver would open the valve, the water would go out, but they need to relieve some of that vacuum it creates, so there's a vent. So what you were looking at, some of these valves, like this is called an internal valve, that actually goes under the belly of a trailer. And then what happens is on each trailer there's a hydraulic jack, and the driver would pump this jack, which would open this valve. And what happens is that most of these things are made out of stainless steel, so they're very expensive to replace. And over the years, we've come up with ways to repair this, repair the stainless steel, and you know, it's much more cost effective for the trucking companies to rebuild than always buy new. This is an operation we do nationwide. We ship these valves in and out of the shop daily all over the country. Most of these components are manufactured new by a company named Betts Industries. They're in Warren, Pennsylvania, and they're a 115-year-old Pennsylvania family company. Sort of what happened with us was I started in 1993 rebuilding these valves, and after a couple years I heard Betts was asking about me. I didn't know what that meant, and what it meant was they came to me and they made me, or made J-Tech, their only authorized rebuild facility in the country. When that happened, we went from about 30 customers to 300 customers in a year. Betts is a moral, honest company. The agreement we have, believe it or not, it's a handshake agreement. They've supported us over the years and we've supported them. So we have a lot of interaction with the Betts people. As we rebuild this stuff, we want it to work like new, look like new, and obviously test like new. As I said, this stuff gets done for companies all over the country. Behind me is our work order board, and right now there's work here from Louisiana, Kentucky, Jersey, British Columbia, Illinois, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Iowa, Arkansas, Texas. So this stuff gets shipped in UPS. We never see the trailer. We rebuild it, we test it, and we ship it back out. So this is a operation, keeps about 15 guys busy all the time. And it's, like I said, our original division. And we're going to take a walk over and look at the cleanup area where we start to prepare the valves for rebuilding when they first come in. What goes on in here is the valves or vents come in, they get disassembled, and then we run them through our bead blasters, which uses a glass bead media. It's like a very fine sand, and it cleans up these stainless products and aluminum products and makes them look like new. That's Luke, one of our longtime employees that operates a lot of the equipment in this room. We use the bead blasters. We also have some vibratory cleaners, and then we do some scraping and just general polishing in here. So again, this is sort of where things first come when they come into the building. Once everything's cleaned, then we transfer it over to the machining area, which we'll walk right over here and we can see what's going on. Here the guys are using lathes to do different operations required. Right here you can see Connor, he's working on a piece called an internal valve disc. And right here I'm holding a disc that gets corrosion right here. This is a sealing surface, so when the valve is closed, this nose goes into a Teflon seat. And sometimes you get some pitting there like rust on your car. Once that happens, we have to machine that. We have to stay within certain tolerances. Once we've machined it, tested this tolerance, then it comes out here to the lathe, and then you can see what Connor's doing. He's right now polishing one of these discs. So although a lot of the equipment you see here, you could consider this to be a traditional machine shop, it's really not. We have machinists and we have machine tools, but it's all supporting our rebuild operation. So that's an internal disc that you'll see it in a valve here in just a few minutes. And these guys are busy all day long cleaning up and cutting all the pieces and components we rebuild. So right now we're in our CNC area. What we do here is we manufacture some of the small components that we use in the valve rebuilding shop. So as an example, here on the bench, this is called a stem. This is an internal piece of that valve. And it's a critical piece as far as the inside has to have a certain finish because it actually acts as a hydraulic cylinder. And then the outside has a seal that runs here. So again, this is another critical piece as far as the finish and the OD diameter. In addition to that, we cut the threads on it. It takes a big nut that holds everything together. And this is stainless. So those of you that have any experience with nuts, bolts, and metal, when we have a stainless nut on stainless threads, that's a critical operation. It's very easy for those threads to get locked up if it's not cut properly. So what we start with is we start with a blank piece of stainless tubing. That's the beginning of the operation. It goes through a whole bunch of gyrations, and then what we end up with is obviously this finished product. This is another sort of stem here that we use a piece of tubing. Actually, this is solid stock, and we machine this stem. Again, critical combination of threads at this end as well as this end, and then inside a critical OD with a critical finish. Again, that acts as a part of a hydraulic cylinder. So all these operations, because the difference here is these are such close tolerances, these items are done on a CNC machine. We just walked away from our manual lathe area. So this is one of our newer machines. It's a Haas CNC lathe, and Steve Horvath, he operates that. Steve was a master machinist in the Air Force, retired after 24 years, came to work for us, and then we had Steve help us choose which machine to buy for his workstation. So this is a Haas CNC lathe, and what he's doing right now is machining a part. Once Steve programs the machine, he saves that program, so all the future cuts and future manufacturing we do, it's repeatable. So there you see him doing a cut right now. And again, that's a saved program, so if he wants to do something similar again, all he has to do is recall his program on the computer. The computer's inside the machine. It's a completely self-contained operation, but a very critical part of our operation. So right now we're in our assembly area. This area is where all the valves and pumps are assembled and tested. So there's a lot of different operations that go on here, a lot of different moving parts. One of the things I wanted to show you specifically is how an internal valve works in a trailer. So what we have here, this is one of those internal valves that we looked at earlier. So this would be in the bottom of a tank trailer. And on every tank trailer, there's a hydraulic jack like the one that Connor's pumping up right now. So the driver of a tractor trailer with a tank truck, with a tank trailer, would open the valve. This is how the water or the liquid would get out. Underneath of here, there would be a hose going to wherever that liquid had to go, let's say a swimming pool or whatever. So the valve's now opened by the driver of the truck. 6,000–7,000 gallons of liquid leaves the trailer, and when that's done, then the driver will shut that, and now it's sealed up again, ready for another load to be put in the trailer. So we developed all this technology over the years. So this test bench and all this equipment here is equipment we've developed. And it's very important for us that not only when we rebuild something, we want to make sure it opens and closes properly, but we also test it with vacuum to make sure that there's no leaks at that seal. And again, because this is technology we sort of developed over the last 24 years, a lot of what you see on this bench are items that we developed to ensure that everything that we do here is tested and working properly. Also, anything we rebuild in our shop, it gets engraved with a serial number and a work order number. That way, if there is any trouble down the road, we can go back and find out when that valve was rebuilt, when it was tested, and what the parameters of and the results of the test were. So again, this area is where this side of the shop is all the valve and vent assembly and testing. The other side of the shop is where the hydraulic pumps are put together and tested. This is all part of our original division, which is the valve division. What you're looking at right now is a piece of equipment called a tank cleaning spinner. What these are used for is they're hung in the middle of a tank trailer by essentially a big, huge stainless steel cork. And they have high pressure, low flow water pumped through them. And then in a 20-minute cycle, somewhere around there, they can clean the inside of a tank trailer. This is our spinner room. When we started J-Tech, we just did the valves. The same customers that use those valves would use these spinners, and they asked us, could we rebuild the spinners? So we got into that. Again, you know, this was probably 20 years ago. In the old days, before the high cost of moving trucks around on the road like it is today, a truck might deliver a load, let's say to Columbus, Ohio, and come back empty and get another load and go back, same material. Nowadays, nobody goes anywhere empty. So if a trailer hauls, let's say, a certain product to Columbus, that guy's going to want to haul something back to Pennsylvania. So he would go to a tank wash facility in Ohio and have his trailer cleaned. Very similar to a car wash, just much more specialized. So what these are, these spinners, is it's a fluid-driven, has a fluid-driven transmission, and it cleans the inside of a tank. What you were looking at a second ago was a new spinner. When we take one of these apart, when they get shipped into us, we rebuild them. And this is sort of the components that make up the inside of that spinner. This is the transmission that turns the spinner. As that spins, the gears spin, and when it spins, it sort of spins, it looks like the windings of a golf ball or a softball. It turns horizontally and vertically at the same time. It's a very efficient machine. We ship these all over the country. We actually have a fleet of spinners that we call our loaner spinners. So if you're in Houston, Texas, and your spinner goes down, you would call us. We would overnight you one of our loaners to be used. You would ship us yours, we would fix it and then ship it back. So this is a critical operation to a tank cleaning facility. If the spinner goes down, they can't clean tanks, and that's how they produce their revenue. So again, another very critical part of our operation. One of the machining items we do here is this is called an inlet stem. It's part of that spinner. And what happens is where the seal rides, it over time will groove the stainless steel and eat into it. Before we started doing this would be thrown in the trash and you would buy a new one. And this is about an $800 item. So what we did is once we identified the problem, now what we do here is we machine that into this. And how we do that is we put a sleeve on top of that. We undercut the bad part, we put a sleeve on it and remachine it, so now you have a like new surface. If this gets damaged again, we can resurface it again. So again, as I talked about with the valve pieces, this is high dollar stainless steel stuff, and anything that we can fix is much more cost effective for the customer and efficient, and also we're not scrapping a lot of expensive stainless that has more useful life left in it. So that's sort of what happens in here. We're going to actually walk outside through these doors, and we have a spinner test tank that we built here. This is a piece of equipment we developed here so that we could test every spinner after we rebuild it. So what you see right now is one of those spinners hanging in there. That's exactly how it would be hanging inside of a tank trailer. We want to run it to make sure we see what the RPM is, the GPM is. We have gauges on this thing that we can figure that out. So Todd, who runs our valve division, he's going to fire this thing up so you can kind of see what it does. So as you can see, that little gear train we looked at a minute ago, once you run some high pressure water through that thing, it's really powerful. So that gives you an idea of how that works inside of a tank trailer. So what we're going to do now is take a little look at our truck shop and what we do back here. We call it our truck division. Really what we build is we build, sell, and rent items used in the traffic safety industry. What you're looking at right now is a truck called an attenuator truck, also known as a crash truck. What we do here is we build these trucks and they get deployed out on major highway and bridge building jobs. This truck is designed to sit before a work zone or possibly following a moving work crew, let's say on the turnpike, and it's designed so if a driver enters the work zone, they'll smash into this thing and it'll protect the workers' lives, it'll save lives. In addition to that, it absorbs the energy, which also will oftentimes save the life of the person that enters the work zone. In today's world of distracted drivers, these type trucks are becoming more and more needed, and probably now that you've seen it, you'll notice it more often. Any bridge jobs you see, any heavy highway jobs you see, you're going to see crash trucks or attenuator trucks. So Jason's going to show you how this thing unfolds to deploy and folds back up. So it's going down right now. Once it goes all the way down, the arrow board is going to automatically go up on the back of the truck. We want the arrow board to go up a certain distance so drivers that are approaching the work zone can see it. So this thing will automatically go all the way up to the proper height. And that's it. So what happens if somebody smashes into the back of this thing, these cartridges and these tubes will get crushed. And if it gets hit right square on, this thing when it's done will only be about this big. So it's an impressive piece. It's an impressive piece of technology. It's a tool that is used all over the country. And it's been proven to save a lot of lives. So Jason's going to fold it back up. He's our general manager. He's up in the truck. He'll fold this thing back up and then we're going to go in the shop and see how we put one of these things together. The first part of building the body for an attenuator truck happens right here. This is a jig that we developed and we built here. Joe Snyder, one of our longtime employees, is welding a body together. So we put this raw material on our jig. The jig can be stretched out to whatever size body we're building, and then Joe starts the welding process. Using the jig makes our bodies uniform, it makes it repeatable, and it gives us a nice clean product. So again, the first step is to get the raw material and weld the body together. So the second part of the body operation is we need to add ballast to the body. The way the Scorpion crash truck or attenuator is designed to work is the truck has to weigh 20,000 pounds so that if it's hit out on the road, it reacts properly. It not only absorbs the energy, but moves however it's supposed to move, how it's designed to move. So we build the body, we take them outside, and then we actually fill them full of concrete. We know how much each of these cavities will hold and how much weight we had to add to each truck depending upon the chassis we're using. This is a very critical part of the bodybuilding process. And states like New Jersey are starting to require engineered drawings on how your ballast is held and how it's attached to the truck. In the old days, guys used to just put a big cement block up on the back of a flatbed. Well, obviously now if that attenuator gets hit with by a tractor trailer, now that block of concrete becomes a projectile. So this is engineered. We have engineered drawings on this and approvals. So the bodies are filled full of concrete depending upon the chassis and the use. And then once the body is filled with concrete, then what you see to my right is a body that we have now put a deck on it. So now the deck is over the concrete and the flatbed is mounted to the chassis. Now some trucks are just a flatbed. Other trucks have what we call a man pod, which will hang down here, and it's where a guy could stand to load and unload cones. So this truck eventually will get a man pod, and then we have this door. So the man pod would be here. They can fold this all the way down when they're using it. When they're not using it, this now covers the man pod and allows for a nice, clean, large flatbed where they could put signs, cones, and that sort of thing. So sort of a three-step process: jig it up, weld it, put the ballast in it, put the decking on it, mount it to the chassis, and then once that operation's done here in our fab shop, then we go over to building 2 where the final assembly takes place. This is our assemble area. What we're going to see is where the attenuators are assembled and put together. This is a Scorpion being put together by Trevor and Micah. The Scorpion's made by a company called Trafix Devices in California. We're a dealer for them. So it comes in and it has to be assembled before it can be put on the truck. So these guys are putting it together. Once they assemble it here on the floor, then it gets mounted to the truck. And this is one of the trucks that it has the arrow board on it, and it has the mount on it waiting for the Scorpion to be attached. So this is the first part of the assembly process. They'll get that thing mounted on there, and then it'll come off to my left, which is where right now Greg is mounting the safety lights. He's doing the wiring for the truck. This area is where the truck could be customized to the customer's specification. It's also where we mount all the safety lights. We run the main wiring harnesses for the Scorpion that power the Scorpion and the arrow board. So again, this is all part of that final upfit operation. On the other side of building 2 is where we do our mechanical work. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have a rental fleet of attenuator trucks. So not only do we sell them, we can also rent them. Part of that operation is preventative maintenance. We have to keep the trucks in tip-top shape for our rental customers. Obviously in Pennsylvania there's state inspections that have to be done, DOT inspections. So that's what happens here. Right now Luke's working on one of our chassis that's being prepared to be built into an attenuator for our rental fleet. This is just your typical mechanic type facility. Some lifts, all the typical tools a mechanic would need. And these guys are kept busy all the time maintaining the fleet. In addition to that, when we buy our chassis, we generally are buying used chassis to be built into an attenuator truck, for the simple fact that a lot of these trucks, once they're built, they sit on road jobs and they may not get another 20,000 miles on them the rest of their life. So when we buy a batch of used trucks, they need to come in, they need to be run through the shop, they need to be mechanically checked out, everything fixed. So these guys are busy all the time. Up on the lift and behind you are 2 of our rental trucks that have been out on rent, and now they're coming in for service and state inspections and that sort of thing. So like I said, these guys run hundreds of trucks a year through here, so they're quite busy maintaining our fleet for us. This is our mini man basket. We developed this piece of equipment to be used on the back of a pickup truck, and what it does is it enables two guys to deploy cones on a smaller road, a side road, or a short run where they're just trying to cone off an area. It prevents them from working out of the back of the pickup and bending over. And over the years, people have tried to build these themselves, and they're not heavy duty. You got a person standing in it. So we've developed this thing here. It's a sturdy unit, has safety lights on it. It has outriggers up here that push down on the bumper to give it stability. It has jacks. You crank down the hand jack so that you can take it off the truck. This thing just mounts into a standard trailer hitch. It's a patented item that we developed. We're real proud of it, and it's being used all over the country right now. So that's our mini man basket. Another product that we've developed here at J-Tech is our DLS system, dynamic lift system. Many roads now require that these vertical panels are used, not cones. They're heavier, they're more stable. If they're hit, this piece just flops out. They don't become projectiles like cones can or barrels. So a lot of our customers that use these vertical panels asked us to develop something that could efficiently get the panels up onto the body. What would happen is they would be setting a 2 or 3 mile traffic pattern on the turnpike, for instance, and it might take them 2 hours to do that. That only leaves them with 4 hours to work and then 2 hours to pick the pattern back up at the end of the job, generally at night. So that was an issue, the speed of the operation. In addition to that, these things can weigh between 40 and 60 pounds, and they would have worker comp or worker issues trying to pick these up. If you can imagine picking up a couple of miles of these every night and laying them down every night, it can be a very fatiguing operation. So we came up with a way to allow the worker, have a man in the body, a man on the basket. They put the panel on the lift, comes down, they can deploy it, and at the end of the night they can back up and tilt that and push it up on here and then reload the truck. This whole operation, when it's taking place, behind it would be one of the Scorpion attenuator trucks protecting these guys. So Jason, our general manager, you saw him next door, he'll just show you the speed in which this thing can go up and down. This is an item that we developed and we patented, and we're selling these things and renting these things all over the country. So Jason will show you, basically, if they were backing up, the man would tilt that, it would come up the rollers, it would go here, and then it would go up. The guy in the truck bed would then take it and stack it on the truck. And if he was deploying it to set a pattern, the man on the truck body would set it on that roller, it would come down, and then basically this guy would roll it. And this is all going to be now close to the ground. We have it up for illustration, and it would just come right off the roller, and then it would set a pattern like you see here. For our customers, they're seeing a 40 to 60% time saving in using this over the traditional manual lifting these things up into the air. So that's our DLS truck. We're quite proud of it, and it's been doing a real good job for us and for our customers. This whole unit you're looking at also can be taken off and put on the other side of the truck with just some quick disconnect fittings. So regardless of where the road is or how they're setting their patterns, this can be used on any job. This is 2 examples of attenuators that have been hit. The one on the left here is an energy absorption attenuator, a different style than the Scorpion ones we've been looking at. This attenuator took a hit straight on. Before it was hit, it was about the same length sticking out the back of the truck like the scorpions we've been looking at, and it absorbs that energy and protects the workers and protects the person hitting it. On the right is a scorpion that's been hit recently. That unit didn't take a direct hit. It took a glancing hit off to the side. Again, somebody enters the active work zone, hits that thing, even if it's not head on, it's going to steer them or guide them off the road, or at least not allowing that vehicle to go into the active work zone. And if we take a look to the right, you can see that's the length of a typical attenuator before it's been hit compared to these that we just took a look at that have been hit. It's a very dramatic difference, and again, this is a violent occurrence, as you can imagine, when somebody isn't paying attention or has a medical emergency or whatever, and if they're going to go into that active work zone, you can only imagine if these tools weren't available, specifically this one on the left that took a head-on shot, if that person would have gone into the active work zone, it would have cost a lot of lives. So these things really do save lives. Thank you for coming out and visiting J-Tech today, and we hope you found this tour to be informative and interesting. We kind of feel like we're in some little niche markets that most people don't think about. But again, it's a Pennsylvania company, homegrown here in the state. Again, employing 35 to 40 people, and we're just very thankful for the business that we've had over the years and the success. We want to thank everybody at PCN Network for giving us an opportunity to share J-Tech with you. We appreciate all the things they do, and we appreciate the PCN Network Tour Show. And so I would say that's it for us, except I do want to finish with this. Obviously, traffic safety is close to our hearts. All of us are using the major roads in the state and other states and all over traveling. Just slow down, pay attention. There's some really good people that are working along our highways. That's a dangerous, thankless job. We like to think that some of our products help those people work safely and go home to their families at night. But again, everybody's in a big hurry today. Let's just all bucket down a little bit going into these work zones and pay close attention to what's happening. So be safe, and thank you again for coming and visiting J-Tech.